Chapter 12. Reflections on Death and Legacy. Whatever you aspire to in the future, you can enjoy and possess now, if you don't deny yourself your own happiness. And that will be, if you forget all that is past, and for the future, refer yourself entirely to the divine providence, and direct all your current thoughts and intentions to holiness and righteousness. To holiness, in willingly accepting whatever is sent by the divine providence, as being what the nature of the universe has assigned to you, which has also assigned you for whatever it is. To righteousness, in speaking the truth freely and clearly, and in doing all things fairly and wisely. Now in this good course, let not other men's wickedness, opinion, or voice hinder you, no, nor the sense of your pampered body, for let that which suffers, look after itself. If therefore when the time of your departure comes, you readily leave all things, and care for your mind only, and that divine part of yours, and this is your only fear, not that you will cease to live someday, but that you will never begin to live according to nature, then you will truly be a man, worthy of the world from which you originated, then you will cease to be a stranger in your own country, and to be amazed at everyday events as if they were strange and unexpected, and to anxiously depend on various things that are not in your power. God sees our minds and understandings, bare and naked from these material vessels, and exteriors, and all earthly impurities. For with his simple and pure understanding, he penetrates our innermost and purest parts, which first flowed and issued from his, like water through a pipe. If you also do this, you will rid yourself of the heavy baggage with which you are encumbered. For the one who does not care about his body, clothing, dwelling, or any such external possessions, must surely gain great rest and ease. There are three things that make up who you are: your body, your life, and your mind. Your body and life are yours in the sense that you are responsible for taking care of them. However, your mind is the only thing that truly belongs to you. If you can separate from your mind everything that others do or say, what you have done or said in the past, all worries about the future, and everything that is beyond your control, related to your body or life, and if you can free your mind from all external influences and always be ready to let go, then your mind can live independently, doing what is right, accepting what happens, and always speaking the truth. If you can do this, and if you can live only in the present moment, then you will be able to spend the rest of your days without worries and distractions, living nobly and generously, and in harmony with your inner spirit. I have often wondered why people who love themselves the most care more about what others think of them than what they think of themselves. If a God or a wise teacher were to command us to only think out loud, no one would be able to bear it, even for a day. We fear more what our neighbors will think of us than what we think of ourselves. It's puzzling that the gods, who have arranged everything else so well, would overlook the fact that good people, who have made many promises to God and have developed a close relationship with Him through their holy actions and services, are not brought back to life after they die but are gone forever. However, if this is indeed the case, it must be because it is the best way. If it were just and natural for people to be brought back to life, the universe would have allowed it. But if it doesn't happen, it must be because it's not supposed to happen. You can see for yourself that you're questioning God about this matter quite freely. If the gods weren't completely just and good, you wouldn't dare to question them. So, if the gods are just and good, they couldn't have overlooked anything when creating the world. You should get used to things that you initially think you cannot do. For example, we see that the left hand, which is usually idle because it's not used, can hold the reins more firmly than the right hand because it's used to it. These should be the subjects of your regular reflections: what kind of people we should be in soul and body when death catches us unawares, the brevity of our mortal life, the infinite time that has passed before us and will pass after us, the transience of all material things in this world. You should also think about the causes of all things, the purpose of all actions, what pain, pleasure, death, and fame really are, and that every person is the true source of his or her own peace and tranquility, and that no one can truly be hindered by anyone else. Everything else is just perception and opinion. When practicing your principles, you should behave more like a wrestler who fights with both hands and feet, rather than a gladiator who is finished if he loses his sword. You should examine all worldly things by dividing them into matter, form, and purpose, or their proper end. How fortunate is a person who has been given the power to do only what God approves, and to accept whatever God sends him or her. Whatever happens in the normal course of natural events, neither the gods, because it's impossible for them to do anything wrong, whether intentionally or unintentionally, nor humans, because they do wrong things out of ignorance, and therefore against their will, should be blamed. So, no one should be blamed. How absurd and strange is a person who is surprised by anything that happens in life as part of the natural order. Fate is either an inevitable necessity or a providence that can be appeased and persuaded. If it's an inevitable necessity, why resist it? If it's a providence that can be appeased and persuaded, make yourself worthy of divine help and assistance. If everything is in chaos without any control or guidance, then you have reason to be grateful that in such widespread chaos, you yourself have obtained a rational mind, with which you can manage your own life and actions. But if you're swept away by the chaos, it might be your body, or your life, or some other thing that belongs to them that's swept away, your mind and understanding cannot be. Or should it be so, that the light of a candle indeed remains bright and illuminating until it's extinguished, and should truth, and righteousness, and moderation cease to shine in you while you yourself exist? When you think and realize that someone has committed a sin, reason with yourself, what do I know whether this is indeed a sin, as it appears to be? But if it is, what do I know, but that he himself has already condemned himself for it? And that is like a man who scratches and tears his own face, an object of sympathy rather than of anger. Also, he who doesn't want a wicked man to sin, is like the one who doesn't want moisture in the fig, or puppies to be born, or a horse to neigh, or anything else that is naturally necessary. For what shall he do that has such a habit? If you are powerful and persuasive, remedy it if you can. If it's not appropriate, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. Always maintain your own purpose and resolution free from all compulsion and necessity. For everything that presents itself to you, consider what its true nature is, and unfold it, as if dividing it into its form and material, its true use or purpose, and the time it is appointed to last. It's high time for you to understand that there's something in you, better and more divine than your passions, or your physical desires and affections. What is now the object of my mind? Is it fear, or suspicion, or desire, or any such thing? To do nothing hastily without a certain purpose, let that be your first concern. The next, to have no other purpose than the common good. For, alas, in a little while you will be no more will any of the things that you now see, or the people who are now alive, exist. For all things are naturally soon to be changed, turned, and decayed, so that other things might take their place. Remember that everything is just opinion, and all opinions depend on the mind. Remove your opinion, and then, like a ship that has docked within the arms and mouth of the harbor, a present calm, all things safe and steady, a bay, not susceptible to any storms and tempests, as the poet has it. No action, ceasing for a while, can truly be said to suffer any harm, because it has ended. Neither can the person who performed that action, for the very reason that his action has ended, be said to suffer any harm. Similarly, neither can the whole body of all our actions, which is our life, if it ends in time, be said to suffer any harm for this very reason, because it has ended, nor can the person who ended this series of actions truly be said to have been negatively affected. Now this time or certain period depends on the determination of nature, sometimes of individual nature, as when a man dies old, but of nature in general, however, the parts of which change one after another, the whole world continues to be fresh and new. Now that which is best and most timely, is that which is for the good of the whole. Thus, it appears that death itself cannot be harmful to anyone, because it is not a shameful thing, for neither is it a thing that depends on our own will, nor is it contrary to the common good, and generally, as it is both expedient and timely for the whole, it must be good. It is also brought to us by the order and appointment of divine providence, so that he whose will and mind in these things aligns with the divine order, and by this alignment of his will and mind with divine providence, is led and driven along, as if by God himself, may truly be called and considered divinely led and inspired. These three things you must always have ready. First, concerning your own actions, whether you do nothing either idly or otherwise, then justice and fairness require, and concerning those things that happen to you externally, that either they happen to you by chance or by providence, to accuse either of which is equally against reason. Secondly, what our bodies are like while still raw and imperfect, until they are animated, and from their animation, until their expiration, of what things they are composed, and into what things they will be dissolved. Thirdly, how vain all things will appear to you when, from above as it were, looking down you shall contemplate all things on earth, and the remarkable changeability they are subject to, considering also the infinite vastness and variety of aerial and celestial things that surround it. And that as often as you behold them, you will still see the same, as the same things, so the same brevity of existence of all those things. Look, these are the things that we are so proud and arrogant about. Discard your preconceptions, and you'll be safe. What's stopping you from discarding them? When you're upset about something, have you forgotten that all things happen according to the nature of the universe? It only concerns the person who is at fault. Moreover, what's happening now has always happened in the world and will continue to happen. It's happening everywhere right now. Almost all people are connected not by blood or lineage, but by similar thoughts. You've also forgotten that everyone's mind is part of the divine and comes from there. No one can truly claim anything as their own, not even their child, their body, or their life. Everything comes from the one who gives all. Everything is merely a matter of perception. No one truly lives except in the present moment. Therefore, when someone dies, they only lose that present moment. Always think about those who were once extremely angry about something, who were once at the peak of honor or disaster, or who hated each other intensely. Then consider what has become of all those things. Everything has turned into smoke, into ashes, and into a mere story, perhaps not even a story. Also, think about those like Fabius Catilinus in the field, Lucius Lupus, and Stertinius at Baiae, Tiberius at Capreae, and Velius Rufus, and all such examples of intense pursuit in worldly matters. Consider how worthless each object of such intense pursuit is. It's much more consistent with true philosophy for a person to act justly and moderately in every situation, following the gods with simplicity. Of all types of pride and presumption, the most intolerable is to be arrogant and conceited about not being arrogant and conceited. To those who ask you, where have you seen the gods, or how do you know for sure that there are gods, since you are so devout in their worship? I answer first that they are in some way visible and apparent even to the naked eye. Secondly, I've never seen my own soul, but I respect and honor it. So, for the gods, I know they exist and therefore worship them because of the daily evidence of their power and providence towards myself and others. The happiness of life lies in thoroughly understanding the true nature of everything, what it's made of, and what its form is. Always strive to do what's right and to speak the truth with all your heart and soul. What remains is to enjoy your life through a continuous sequence of good actions, never interrupted, even for the briefest moment. There's only one sunlight, although it can be blocked by walls, mountains, and countless other objects. There's only one common substance of the entire world, although it can be divided and confined into countless different bodies. There's only one common soul, although it appears to be divided. All other parts of these general categories, such as sensitive souls or subjects, have no mutual connection with one another, although many of them contain a mind or rational faculty that governs them. But every rational mind has a connection with others of its kind and desires to unite with them. This common affection or mutual unity can't be intercepted, divided, or confined to particulars like other common things. What do you desire? To live long? To enjoy the functions of a sensitive soul or the appetitive faculty? Or do you want to grow and then shrink again? Do you want to be able to talk, think, and reason with yourself for a long time? Which of these seems worthy of your desire? If you find that they're not worth much in themselves, move on to the last one, which is to follow God and reason in all things. For a person to grieve that death will deprive them of any of these things is against both God and reason. Consider how small a portion of vast and infinite eternity is allotted to each of us, and how quickly it disappears into the general age of the world. Consider what a small portion of the common substance and the common soul is allotted to us. Consider the small piece of the whole earth on which you crawl. After you've properly considered these things, don't regard anything else in the world as important except this, to do only what your own nature requires and to conform to what common nature provides. What is the current state of my understanding? This is all that truly matters. As for everything else, they're beyond the reach of my control. If they're beyond my control, they're as dead to me as smoke. One effective way to encourage a person to disregard the fear of death is this: even those who considered pleasure to be happiness and pain as misery, many of them still despised death as much as anyone. Can death be frightening to someone who only sees good in what is naturally timely? To someone who doesn't care about the quantity of his actions if they are all good? To someone who doesn't mind whether they witness the world's events for many years or just a few, if they stay the same? You, as a citizen, have lived and interacted in this vast city called the world. Whether for many years or not, what does it matter to you? You can be sure that you've lived if the laws and customs of the city are required, which can be a common comfort for all. Why then should it be painful to you if nature, which brought you into the world, now sends you out of it? It's like a director kindly dismissing an actor from the stage after a while. But the play isn't over yet, there are only 3 acts played out of it. You're right, for in life, 3 acts are the entire play. The one who decides when each person's act ends are the same one who composed you and now causes your end. You have no control over it either. So, leave with satisfaction and contentment, for the one who dismisses you is also content. Summary of Chapter 12. In the final chapter, the author reflects on the inevitability of death and the legacy one leaves behind. He encourages readers to live a life of virtue and wisdom, as this is the true measure of a meaningful existence. One of his famous quotes is, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live." Facilitator notes. The facilitator, Sir Adam S. Barnett, a retired Army officer, facilitated the translation from Old English to Modern English. The appendix and glossary from the original writing has been removed. The title of book was changed to chapter and titles were added. Summaries were also added at the end of each chapter. This version was highly emphasized at transcription to Modern English for the purpose of inspiring the contemporary, modern, reader. The facilitator has found great joy in facilitating the translation of Old English text to Modern English. He created a program that breaks the text into chunks and transcribes them using detailed sets of instructions with the help of artificial intelligence. Then he edits the text. In this work, he felt it necessary to remove the appendix, which was largely a historical source of data along with the glossary. His thought is that a historian can easily find the references he left out. All I seek is inspiration born from the alchemy of philosophy. Adam S. Barnett.